All right, this is yet another belated vlog for Critically Sovereign. I promise I'll get back on track soon. It's been kind of chaotic coming off the midterms and getting into the holidays and things. Just got engaged too, so that's pretty cool. Um, this was over chapters 2 and 3. Um, Chapter 2 largely encompassed the Navajo or the Diné and their kind of uprising and how they were portrayed in the media. Goes over their uprising of Beautiful Mountain, talks a little bit about New Indian histories, and it's just kind of through the sense of decolonization. So a lot, like I said, a lot of it had to do with the media. And I kind of mentioned in class that I feel like for not just the Navajo, but just any indigenous class, it's very they're just going to be portrayed with a bias, and it's not going to be received well, or it will be received well, but not like according to them, obviously. Even if they like win at this uprising, they're just gonna further fuel the fire to like bring more soldiers and just suppress them more. And if they lose, they lose. It's a lose-lose situation. There's no way out of it, and they're going to be portrayed unfairly in the media. It's just like, I mean, I don't like to compare it to contemporary times, but you just like take one look and like even if it's not real, the news of like fake news and like untrustable sources and biased news stations and things like that. It's like this is an evident problem, and it even dates back to suppressing indigenous groups like the Navajo and other tribes in North America. So it's a very real issue that still exists today. Surveillance or census records, we saw some of that in Lakota. There's a contemporary push to return to tradition because, as we see in the chapter, colonization kind of encourages them to make their own little sovereign nation. They say, yeah, you can do whatever, but you should probably adopt these principles, So they make a newer Navajo nation that's built on the patriarchy instead of the matriarchy, which I thought was very interesting. So even though they may think they're like kind of operating sovereignly, they're still infected with those westernized Christian belief system, the caste systems. And so it's like Hawaii, there's a contemporary push to return to how it was before, before they kind of were taken over. And then chapter 3 goes into more of like a literary analysis of a few texts. I think it's just one solar flares and maybe a little bit of something else. Talks about violence, bodily violence, another common theme we see in indigenous studies, especially regarding women, missing and lost indigenous women. It has a lot of biblical narrative, like the town that they live in being literally named Adam's Rib, suggesting that from the creation story of Christianity that woman is made out of the rib of man. So naturally they are submissive. The book Solar Storms, and it just kind of talks about raw patriarchal violence. Again, we see the evidence of the patriarchy even within their own communities, and being bigots and against LGBTQ and like more free sexuality. So it's an interesting thing, especially modernly when people say that tribes can operate sovereignly. It's like, yes, but also like none of us knew, or nobody can remember the time where Western like antics weren't involved. Like there's a sense to return to tradition from the people that are like, this is how it used to be and this is how it should be. But it's just hard because even with like anything that becomes a territory or claimed has just so many competing interests that could become involved, that everything, like every second going into the future, talking about going back to the past just becomes more and more like unrealistic and way harder to please everybody. It's a difficult topic, but it's very contemporary. So yes, that was my review.